Classical Music Readers, Level 2. The Works of Robert Schumann. Copyright 2023, C Learning. All rights reserved. Who was Robert Schumann? Robert Schumann's story is at heart a love story. He was born in 1810 in Zwickau, which is part of Germany today. He began to compose music when he was 7. At school, music was his best subject. When he was 20, Schumann took piano lessons from Friedrich Wieck, a famous piano teacher. Wieck had a daughter, Clara, who was a talented pianist. Schumann really wanted to be successful in the music world. To try to speed up the process, he built a strange box. It was meant to support his fingers while practicing, to make them stronger and more able to play. Some people say that the box seriously injured 2 fingers on his right hand. Because of this injury, he could no longer play the piano. Others say that the box did not injure his fingers. He could not move his fingers because of an illness. Schumann fell in love with Wieck's daughter, Clara, but her father said they could not marry. He did not want his daughter to marry a man who had no money. In the end, love won, and they got married in 1840. Things were wonderful for a while. Robert composed, Clara performed, they had children, and they were deeply in love. But in the mid-1840s, Schumann began to show early signs of mental illness. In the following years, his health got worse. He even told Clara he was afraid he might hurt her. In 1854, he threw himself into the Rhine River, but was pulled out. He entered a mental hospital. Clara was not allowed to visit him until 2 years later. Two days after Clara went to visit her husband, he died in her arms at the age of just 46. Clara Schumann spent most of the rest of her life performing and printing the works of her husband. She is also credited with making Schumann's music popular and giving him the respect he has today. It is because of Clara and her love for her husband that any of us know Robert Schumann's name. Kinderszenen, Opus 15, 1838. Before they married, Clara told Schumann that he was sweetly childlike. That moment inspired his famous Kinderszenen, or Scenes from Childhood. They were 13 short pieces for the piano. These pieces are fairly easy to play, but full of wonder and fun. However, this music is not just for children. It is music about children for adults to enjoy. As we listen to each piece of music, we can see scenes from childhood in our minds. One of the pieces, Haschemann, Catch Me If You Can, brings to mind children running around, chasing each other. Another piece, Kind im Einschlummern, Child Falling Asleep, brings to mind a child whose eyes are half open but close to falling asleep. At the time Schumann wrote this, he and Clara didn't have any children yet, but he would see a child falling asleep many, many times in his life. The couple had 8 kids. The lowest notes in this piece happen almost exactly in the middle, while the beginning and end are a bit higher. This seems to mirror the mind of someone falling into and then slowly coming out of a deep sleep. Piano Concerto in A minor, 1845. Schumann's only piano concerto is a very personal work. Schumann used the concerto to show all the troubles he had to go through in order to marry his dear wife Clara. They even had to go to court. The basic idea expressed in the work is that of wanting and happiness between two loving people. Schumann saw this theme as an expression of the deep connection between true love and the fight for it. In the piece, Schumann puts special stress on allowing the orchestra to be colorful and independent, leaving room for both piano and orchestra to shine. Clara was the soloist at the work's first performance. As a famous pianist in her own right, she wrote after the opening that the piece was rich in invention, interesting from beginning to end, fresh and beautiful. Maybe she was a little biased, but the work received a lot of praise at the time, and not just from his wife. Symphony No. 3, Rhenish, 1850. Symphony No. 3, also known as Rhenish, was Schumann's final symphony. He composed it in just over a month in 1850. At that time, he and Clara were living in Düsseldorf, Germany, which sits on the Rhine River. The name Rhenish means having to do with the Rhine and its area. The couple loved the land and the views around the Rhine. It is not surprising that Schumann was inspired by this river. Schumann said that the symphony perhaps shows something of Rhenish life here and there. The symphony itself feels like a journey down the river, and each movement is like a picture from a different location along the way. The Rhenish has 5 movements, probably an influence of Beethoven and Mendelssohn, who wrote great symphonies. The 5th movement was inspired by the impressive cathedral in Cologne, along the Rhine River. In the course of his very short life, Schumann wrote several works for solo piano, hundreds of songs, lieder, many concertos, pieces, an opera, and 4 symphonies. If only medical science had understood mental illness better, the world and Clara might have had his creative spirit for many more years.